Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wa sallallahu ajma'een. Wa ba'd. Dearly respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another episode of Cosmic Proofs, where we bring proofs and evidence of the true religion of God, which is Islam, which came to our beloved Prophet over 1400 years ago. This great man who lived a great life, who influenced many other great people to live great lives. And you, dearly respected viewers, we also invite you to follow this great man so you can also live a great life. In a day where most people now are concerned with the lives of movie stars and musicians and people who really have no effect or influence on daily life or anything for that matter. We need to learn more about people who have had a great impact on the lives of many, 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 many men. Not just normal men, but also the highest intellectuals, as we've seen in the last episodes, and we will see also in this episode, inshallah. First off, I would like to introduce our host, our great host, my dear brothers, my teachers and brothers. Yes, Dr. Nayef, Fawaz Al Shaian. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing, Dr. Nayef?
Excellent.
And Dr. I hope the people don't get you confused.
Most of the time they do. But if they do, they are forgiven.
Yes. Yes. If they get confused, call in and we'll have them put on name tags. Okay. All right. And our guests, welcome back.
Thank you. Your brother Salim Morgan, Abu Sulaiman.
Ahlan wa
And Abu Salman Diyauddin Every.
MashaAllah.
Yes. So,
thank you very much.
welcome back as always. We're so happy to have you here.
Where's our trip gonna take us today? Our trip is gonna take us back to India with Professor Ramakrishna Rao. He said the personality of Muhammad, it's most difficult to get into the whole truth of it. Only a glimpse of it I can catch. What a dramatic succession of picturesque scenes. There is Muhammad the Prophet, there is Muhammad the warrior, Muhammad the businessman, Muhammad the orator, Muhammad the reformer, Muhammad the refugee of the refuge of orphans, Muhammad the protector of slaves, Muhammad the emancipator of women, Muhammad the judge, Muhammad the saint. All in all, these magnificent roles in all these departments of human activities, he is like a hero. So he is mentioning some of the Prophet's role, peace be upon him.
I disagree with him on the last part, though.
Yes.
Like a hero? He is a hero.
No, alike.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Alike, not yes. Like a hero. Alike a hero. Meaning definitely a hero.
Yes, he's definitely a hero, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
He should have uttered it. He is a definite true hero, but he said alike, not like.
Yes.
Like a hero. Yes.
Clean my ears out next time.
Right. No, it's
but it was amazing because even us as Muslims, now here is a man, I mean, I don't know too much about his life, but I'm assuming that he's not a Muslim.
Yes, he's a professor,
yes.
A Hindu
faith.
He's a Hindu.
When did he say this?
He said it recently, in the last few years. He's a professor, one of the greatest professors in India.
Yes.
And at the beginning he was attacking Muslims in India, and somebody have advised him to read about Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Yes.
And when he read, this is what he
discovered.
And he said, emancipator of women.
Yes.
In this century, is that
absolutely?
Is that amazing?
Well,
I mean, we knew that.
We will have a whole episode about just.
We'll be waiting for that one.
Inshallah.
Yes. But I mean, you have to admit the truth.
Yes.
Because we're not dealing with foolish people, we're dealing with intellectuals, and an
Exactly.
intellectual man, he has to admit the truth. You know, once you see it, you have to.
An intellectual who, as he said, studied.
Yes.
He read.
Took the time.
He took the time to go through the resources, and then when he did, that's when he came to this conclusion.
And the interesting part about it, brothers, that he had a preconceived position
Yes.
about
I think they
the
all
faith
Oh,
and the
all of
prophet,
them.
all of them.
Yes.
But
Yes.
he utters it. He
Yes.
shows it in his way. He says, from this, it instigated his fairness, I guess, and his curiosity to read about this great prophet. And he is showing the roles that no other prophet ever fulfilled, the completion of the whole circle
Yes.
of what constitutes a mundane leader and one in the hereafter. And this is what makes
Dr. Saoud, a
So
leader,
unique.
it would take 50 men to do the jobs of what he just mentioned right now. And one man stood up and took on all of these roles in one society.
As a matter of fact, brother, not only 50 men.
No, it
All
takes-
men in history never,
Yeah, of course.
never duplicated this. So
You know,
this
if
is
you-
infinity.
Yes, if you had
Yeah.
to take even the 50 greatest people, you just put the 50 greatest people
Subhanallah.
into one person. It's unbelievable.
SubhanAllah.
Yes.
Subhanallah. Now
you have more.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
More
Now
surprises.
we're going to talk about Annie Besant. Annie Besant, she said, it's impossible for anyone who studies the life and character of the great prophet of Arabia, who knew how he taught and how he lived, to feel anything but reverence for that mighty prophet, one of the great messengers of the Supreme.
Allahu Akbar.
And although in what I put to you, I shall say many things which may be familiar to many, yet I myself feel whenever I reread them a new way of admiration,
Allahu Akbar.
a new sense of reverence for that mighty Arabian teacher.
Allahu Akbar.
We know that all prophets of God are teachers. They only came to teach about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how to obey Him.
She made the best mention. She said supreme.
Absolutely.
She
Yes.
brought Allah into the picture.
See,
Yeah.
she brought the true image of Allah that Islam stresses.
Yes.
The supremacy and the oneliness and the loneliness of God. Not only.
I think the only problem here was the word Arabian.
Yes.
If she
Whoa.
dropped
No.
that, she would
Yeah.
get the
What's
whole
the
Yes.
problem here?
Because she was describing his origin.
I
know.
Not that she didn't say that he is the prophet of Arabia, but she is Arabian, meaning because
She
he's
did
an
it,
Arab.
but for some people this becomes
Exactly.
an excuse.
Yeah,
I admire him, but he's
Yeah.
for the Arabs.
Yeah,
No,
and
no,
I'm
no.
over here.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
وَمَا
I don't
أَرْسَلْنَاكَ
think-
إِلَّا
I don't-
رَحْمَةً
I don't
لِلْعَالَمِينَ.
think-
I don't
We have
think
not
that
said.
she meant it
No, no,
in
she
that
didn't
way.
mean
She
it.
only meant it as that.
No, but
this
it's
is
good
his
for
truth.
our brother
Yeah.
to mention it
Yeah.
so that our viewers
Don't
can
understand
can
it.
understand
He's not
the,
for the
the
Arabs.
third dimension. of
Yes.
it.
For mankind.
Thank you, brother. Yes.
I mean, it's
Self-
clear through all these intellectual, because we have
So
different
we
societies
see,
and
we
different
see a
peoples.
woman now, for those who claim
Oh,
that
yes.
Islam is anti-woman, anti-liberation, anti of that. All what we're saying is that any intelligent person, whether a man or a woman, would see these qualities
Yes.
as they are and put them in context of humanity, and that's what makes them so great.
Yes.
There's another
So
woman.
you said about a woman.
Yeah. So,
Here is another woman, also
subhanallah.
Back to India.
back to India, brother. Yes, Sarojini Naidu.
Subhanallah.
Also, she's a very famous woman in India, and she was for women's lib and women's right. And she said,
Activist.
she's an activist. She was an activist. It was the first religion that preached and practiced democracy.
Subhanallah.
Now that people talk about Islam as theology, there is no theology in
Theocracy.
Islam.
Theocracy.
Exactly.
Theocracy.
Or theocracy, as our brother also mentioned, there is no neither theology in the Christian sense, nor
Theocracy.
theocracy in the governance of religion. She said it was the first religion that preached and practiced democracy, for in the mosque, when the call for prayer is sounded and worshippers are gathered together, the democracy of Islam is embodied 5 times a day when the peasant and king kneel side by side
Yes.
and proclaim God alone is great. I have been struck over and over again by this indivisible unity of Islam that makes man instinctively a brother, meaning the brotherhood of man is
Regardless.
in its climax seen only in Islam.
Right.
So as we have seen this lady that
Well,
have
was also a women's rights activist.
women's rights activist.
You know, of all things, you know.
and especially in India, where the religion is based on
caste.
Yes.
classification of
And the
people
caste system,
and on,
which is-
on
Caste
castes and outcasts.
Yes.
In reality,
Yes.
she is saying how true democracy, in the
And
sense
equality.
in the sense of the brotherhood of man, where king and the poor man are,
The king and the pauper.
as they
Yes.
say.
Imagine if she saw
Famous
the Hajj.
Mark Twain.
She's
book,
on
huh?
a pilgrimage to
Subhanallah,
Mecca.
if she would have seen the Hajj, where she would
Oh
have
yeah,
seen
the Hajj is a
what
whole
what
other-
amazed Malcolm X,
X.
Yes.
in
Yes.
the Hajj, and what brought him
Brought
to
it
true
back to
Islam,
Islam.
Yeah.
is
And this is a common theme, that if people, when they see a community of
brotherhood,
Muslims,
yes.
and they realize, this is not based on a nationality or a color or a
Yes.
race
Subhanallah.
or a class.
or a class, that they're all mixing
Yeah.
and they're all friendly together. It really impresses them.
Yeah,
It,
very
it-
true.
it really shocks them sometimes.
This has been
And that's
a
why-
redundant experience for
that's,
me in the West,
you know,
for
and
Westerners
that's of course
to when
when
they see Islam.
the Muslims are not acting properly, they may do those racist or nationalistic or tribal kind of
Yeah,
things.
but that's why
actually,
we
But
judge
those
the
are their
religion.
mistakes.
This is done out
Yeah.
of ignorance.
Yeah, out of
Ignorance,
ignorance or,
We
false
judge
desires.
the religion based on the
Yeah.
actions of
Yeah.
the Prophet, not the actions of the people that misunderstand
And
the religion. and
Exactly, but I'm
practice
just
it.
mentioning that this is a universal,
Yes.
Impression.
impression
Yeah, exactly.
and appearance that
Yeah.
shows
But,
for many
yeah.
people.
But she made a statement, and she said, like, she kind of mentioned Islam as being like the origin, like the original, practice of democracy. But according to her definition of democracy, then it would be the only.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have never seen anything of this sort. When can you see a king and the poorest of men walking together around the Kaaba, eating together from the same plate?
And by the way, in America, you don't even see that in churches.
Yes.
No.
The churches are very much divided by
Absolutely.
race, by class.
By class,
No, it's divided by how much they pay to the church.
even by income sometimes.
First seats are to the best payers.
Yes, the biggest paychecks.
Yes.
So it's very, 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 very interesting. So with that, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back with more intellectual talk about our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thank you very much, and come back.
From that, I've really come to understand that to be a Muslim, to be someone who says they've surrendered and submitted to the will of God, is to be in harmony with everything around you and to be a benefit to everyone.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, He gave us a life plan. He told us what to do. He gave us, goals and what He expects from us.
Has roots in Islam because the first man who was created, Adam, he was neither a Jew or a Christian, but he submitted himself to God. Abraham, he didn't submit to anyone in creation. He didn't even hear in any of these religions. But when he was told to do what? Submit to the will of God. That's Islam.
Attached to his preconceived notions. And if he looks with an objective eye and an open heart, he'll see it. unless Allah for some reason has something over his eyes because of something that we don't know is in his heart.
You had from 1980 to 2005, you had the FBI data report showing that now from all these years that only 6% had any links to Islam. 94% were people who had nothing to do with Islam.
This is the Deen Show. This is the Deen Show.
Welcome back, dear viewers, as we continue our intellectual discussion about our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the greatness of this man that Allah has sent to all the people of the world. And I say all of the people of the world, not just the Muslims and not just the Arabs, but all people of the world. As these people have found out themselves, these intellectual people throughout their reading and studies, they have also seen the greatness of this man and his
all the power without its without well, that you said it.
He also didn't have the oppression of
Absolutely.
Caesar.
You added that to what he said. I was just uttering what he said, brother.
When I first heard those two things, Caesar and Pope, I said, that's terrible.
Exactly.
Where's that going to go?
Exactly.
But then he denied it.
And then he clarified it. Why? I'll tell you why, brother.
He did it for that impact.
Exactly. He did it for two things. First, for the impact, and then he was talking to people that are used to Caesar and Pope. Pope. And then when they remember the famous saying that they said, our Prophet Jesus said, which we know that it couldn't be, is that give what is to Caesar and what is to God, meaning because Pope is the representative of God, he wanted to first attract the people and then shock them. So he started by saying he was Caesar and Pope in one, but he was Pope without Pope's pretensions and Caesar without the legions of Caesar. And then he started giving details.
So he actually negated the bad qualities of what the people would know. But yeah, you have to speak to people with what they know, right?
So we see, subhanallah, brothers, that the intelligent people discover intelligent details. So it takes an able mind to appreciate small nuances and small details of a character. And this is what's so enriching about this experience, is that these are men, some of them recent and some of them relatively recent, yet they are the ones that shaped the thought of the 19th, 20th and beyond for mankind. And for them to admit this is really
And also it's interesting because we have a panel here, I guess you could say, of well-read intellectual guests, Have you ever read anywhere where they gave a description of any person from their own history, like the type of description that you...
Not at all.
It's unbelievable, right?
It all goes to the word that he was called Muhammad, which means the praise.
And they're
all praise.
They are all praising
They're all
him.
praising him in this way or that way.
That is
in their own idiosyncrasy.
And maybe in spite of themselves.
In spite of
It's just the
themselves.
facts.
It all befits the predetermined role of the Prophet ﷺ, including his name that was mentioned, as we saw in other episodes in the Old Testament and the New Testament. So there is a consistency of goal and mean where it only comes to the Prophet ﷺ.
Is it just me, or I haven't seen one of these people without a large beard?
Yes, subhanallah.
Interesting.
Now
we can draw it on, we have Photoshop now.
brother, now we can finish with an Israeli journalist, a humanitarian, and a former Knesset member. He said Muslim Spain was a paradise for the Jews, and there has never been a Jewish Holocaust in the Muslim world.
Allah Akbar.
Even pogroms were extremely rare. Muhammad decreed that the peoples of the book, meaning Jews and Christians, be treated tolerantly,
Allahu Akbar.
subject to conditions that were incomparably more liberal than those in contemporary Europe.
Allahu Akbar.
The Muslims never imposed their religion by force on Jews and Christians, as shown by the fact that almost all the Jews expelled from Catholic Spain settled in the Muslim countries and flourished there.
And flourished, that's the...
And flourished there.
Not just settled, but
Flourished.
yes.
Absolutely.
And how can you flourish in a time of oppression and
Subhanallah.
it's impossible. Yes. Yes.
So this is a person who read one segment of the history,
Exactly.
which he was more inclined to, about the dealings with the Jews.
He is describing the applied side of Islam from a receiving end, which is a Jew. And that, but as you say, he didn't take...
Brother, we have many, many examples of that sort. But because we regard the time of the viewers as being important, we want to limit ourselves to such examples. But we want to remind ourselves, you just reminded me a few minutes ago about the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, peace be upon him, where when he sent a message to Caesar, to Heraclius of his time, and when he started describing to him about Islam, and then he asked about Jesus, peace be upon him, in Islam, and then he started reciting to him the verses about Jesus, peace be upon him, in the Quran, and then he started weeping, and he started crying, and he said, this is exactly the truth of Jesus in Islam. Ask your Prophet to show me where can I see my power in it. Where can I see my special interest in it? If he can show it to me, I will make all Rome change to Islam, convert to Islam. So he told him, there is not, unfortunately, there is not a place, not only there is no place for your special interests or your power in Islam, there is no place for the power of the Prophet
in Islam.
Muhammad in Islam. All the power in Islam is that of God. And with that statement, I wanted to finish that all the powers in Islam is that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the universe and the sustainer of the universe, and Muhammad is the messenger of Muhammad, as all his brothers before him,
trustworthy
Moses, Jesus, Abraham, Noah, all of them were the messengers of Islam. And I wanted to, as you said, brother, earlier, I want to invite them with these truths to take the step of acknowledging that there is only one and only God, the creator of the universe, and Muhammad, his messenger. And with this shahada, they will open all the gates of heaven to them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So there you go, another great episode with our doctors and with our guests. I hope you've benefited a lot. I hope that these episodes have encouraged you to want to read more about the greatest man that ever walked the face of this earth, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I invite you all to this. Read, and try to learn about this great man, and try to not just read, but try to implement the actions that he did, and try to be a better person yourselves. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.